This dad just accidentally made a $250,000 Pokemon card investment, and he didn't even know it until recently when his trading cards sold at auction for £250,000. So, in today's video, we're gonna spin that back real quick and really take a look at some of the fundamental things that you could learn about Pokemon card investing from this gentleman, as well as take a look at some of the auctions and see what some of the rare items he sold at auction are that fetched £250,000 in value. But before we do, let's roll that intro. Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, friends, we take a look at this article that tells the story of a very interesting Gordon White, a 58-year-old dad who spent 16 years collecting Pokemon cards for his kids, and the kids, I guess, didn't want it, so he sold them at auction, and yeah. Net quite a bit of money, whether you want to spin it the US way, the European way, or something in between. That is a lot of money. 250,000 pound. I'm gonna go ahead and just assume a 1-to-1 conversion rate. 250,000 US dollars is a life-changing amount of money, and yeah, Gordon was able to do it. Now, quickly looking at this article, link will be down below. Gordon White, 58, amassed thousands of cards, including dozens of complete Pokemon card sets when he started collecting them in the 1990s. He's a delivery driver who started his obsession after his children asked to join a Pokemon league, and he had been collecting ever since. So this is kind of one of those stories where you almost picked your hobby up from your kids, which is pretty interesting, but pretty cool all at the same time. And you do hear a lot of that happening. It happens tons of times with things like Legos, where Lego has even geared certain sets that they have created more towards adults, knowing fully well that you're going to the same aisle when your kid wants to go buy a new Lego as well. And who knows, something might catch your eye, right? That's why you see some sets that are kind of geared towards adults and definitely explicitly only meant to be built by adult collectors. But it's really interesting because we're seeing in other hobbies as well this kind of joining or union of the older folks versus the younger folks, and it's actually cool because it's helping to normalize having hobbies that are traditionally seen as more reserved for kids only. So I think it's pretty cool because this is a story that's been years in the making but has the same fundamentals as what we're seeing play out today. So he's already cashed in by selling half of his collection, which fetched a staggering 200,000 when it came under the hammer, meaning it went up for auction in November of last year. So now Gordon is set to rake in an additional 60,000 by flogging the rest of his treasure trove of Magic cards. So the 200 that's already been sold, the 60 that's to be sold, more or less gives you that 250k figure that we keep seeing. So, Magic the Gathering was obviously a major part of his collectibles. It actually predates Pokemon, so this article points out something very good, and was a forerunner for the genre. So that's why you often hear a lot about Magic. If you're not a Magic person, or you're just generally unaware, yeah, Magic was basically the OG of the space. And a lot of people point to Magic as being a forerunner, not only for just the way trading cards worked and how things operated, but also from the vintage side, how we could reasonably expect some of these cards to behave. So when you see something like a Black Lotus card, which has historically been one of the most sought after cards, it's effectively the forerunner for a Charizard, for a Lugia, right? Because it behaved in the same way and it kind of set a precedent for what a Pokemon card could be in the future. Obviously, Wizards of the Coast basically had a monopoly on anything fun and trading card related back in the day because Wizards was making not only Magic, but they were also making Pokemon and a ton of other cards. And yeah, that's about the entire story from the article. You do have a ton of pictures, and then you have, you know, some background on why he decided to sell. So he claims that, you know, he's completed it and he's kind of done drawing any kind of fun out of it. So his goal now was just to pass it on, right? And then he just kind of went from there. So he decided it was time to go. He also ran a Pokemon League and acted as a judge in UK events while mixing with the highest echelons of the Pokemon world. And some of the best Pokemon card players in the world were also probably there and present. So it's also pretty cool. Now, you see, obviously, there are some really, really cool scans that are up here. And so I wanted to actually jump over. I was able to go looking and find the actual catalog of events, and you can see here that at the time I'm posting this video, it's actually not that long ago. So interestingly enough, some of those exact same scans are actually available freely for you to view. And it's absolutely insane. So you have some cards actually still up in there, but you can see here some of the items that are up here. So you have the complete Pokemon Power Keepers EX set, including all Gold Star cards. There are 76 lots, by the way. So, you know, you can now kind of really get into this. But you have the Pop Series 5, which is a huge one. We'll take a look at that in just a little bit. You have some Emerging Powers factory sealed. So this is a little bit later. We're getting into the 2010s with this set, although very early on. And then, of course, tons of Magic the Gathering sets as well. And again, there's 76 of them here. You can see many of them are featured. So it's actually pretty cool because I'm recording this video and plan on releasing this video on February 19th, and so some of these auctions are still in progress, and you can see here they're fetching a good amount of numbers. You know, at a conservative estimate, you know, you're looking at another potential 35,000 pounds in value here, assuming each set went for 500, and it's not. I guarantee you it's not. So yeah, it's actually pretty cool, but there's tons going on here. I did promise and wanted to kind of deep dive into the Pop Series set. So you can see here right now it's at 2,300 Great British pounds. Next up is 24, and then don't forget a wonderful 26% buyer's premium. In case you don't know, a buyer's premium is something very common to these types of auction sites. Basically what happens is, unlike eBay, where the price you see is the price you pay, here, whatever that final bid is, you get a multiplier added to it. So in this case, 26%, and then that's the final price that you pay. It's important to know that too, because just because it's a buyer's premium doesn't mean it's not your problem. If you wanted to ever purchase those cards in the future from a person who won them from a site like this one, 99.999 times out of 100, they're going to include the buyer's premium. Nobody in their right mind would ever probably turn around and say, oh, don't worry about the buyer's premium, just match my bid. So oftentimes, more often than not, and almost every single time I've ever bought anything from anybody, they include buyer's premium in the mix as well. And so that becomes a very important factor because, unlike eBay, again, where the price you see is the price you pay, here on these auction sites, there's a little bit more math that you have to do to get to the actual final price. And that is why the prices you see here might look teeny tiny and minuscule. However, there's a really good chance that what's going to happen is, at the end, these prices are going to swell drastically as a result of this multiplier, as well as just the bid starting to finish up. And then I wanted to actually grab and take a look at some of these beautiful cards. So look at this. This is Pop Series 5. Absolutely gorgeous cards. Obviously, these are just 3 of them, which is amazing, but just really, really amazing, good-looking cards. Some things to note about these. So you have the Charmander. Obviously, Charmander is not an electric type, but one of the big perks of the EX era is that it gave us some really, really memorable trading cards, including, of course, the Delta species trading cards. So you had some really cool mismatches of stuff, right? So you had like Pikachu, which was not a Delta species card, right? So it's just a regular electric type. However, you had some really cool cards like the Meowth, which was a dark type, the Charmander, which was an electric type, and tons of other Pokemon, actually. So just as an example, a Pelipper, that's notoriously weak to electric, being an electric type, Pikachu, Zangoose, and then obviously the big hitters for this particular set have to be these fellas down here. So these look like some really good condition Espeon and Umbreon Gold Star cards. These cards were illustrated by Masakusa Fukada, the same person who illustrated all the other Gold Star cards. But interestingly enough, they were Japanese prize cards. So you had to be some kind of OG way back when, within a particular club in Japan, I believe, in order to actually get those cards. Without them, you would be kind of stuck up the creek, as they say. However, here in the States, we didn't get them released in a set because they were promo cards, and so what we did end up getting them in is Pop Series, which were these Pokemon organized play packs that were released over the summer. And apparently these cards were notoriously difficult to pull, which is why they've drawn so much fanfare over the years. Of course, you also had a Ho-Oh, a Lugia, and a Mew, and some other interesting cards there as well. So as you can see, it's literally 2 binder sleeves worth of cards, but it's gonna fetch a pretty significant premium. The other thing to note, these packs, these Pop Series packs, go for also a stupid amount of money. Obviously the Espeon and Umbreon, graded as a PSA 10, have reached highs as high as $20,000 a card, and it's likely that that's going to continue over the years because of how notoriously rare they are. Populations are also tiny small. The other interesting thing is that there's no holographic cards in Pop Series 5. So because there's no holographic cards, unlike other Pop Series packs, you can't weigh them. And that's even more of a disaster because now these Pop Series packs go for a ton of money, because as long as they're legit, you actually have a fair shot. It's a small shot, but it's a fair shot. If they had made either of those 2 cards holographic, it would have been a big deal, because then the heaviest packs would always contain those cards. But perhaps they did that on purpose, fully knowing that there wasn't really going to be an opportunity for you to do something like that. Some other stuff, you got the full Power Keeper set. I just wanted to kind of show you guys the sort of chase cards. So here are all of the trainers. Obviously there is a Charizard in the set, although it doesn't get as much fanfare or love as other Charizards from the EX era. You've got all of the EX cards, in my opinion, one of the more monochrome EX sets. So you've got the Claydol, which is fine. You've got the Absol, which is fine. But like right here, you kind of hit this like pattern of like very light colored cards. So I've never been quite a fan of how this set displays in a binder, but that's just really me being a personal preference type of person. And then, of course, there is another page as well, which has the 3 Gold Stars. So these would be the 3 original Kanto evolutions, and then you've got, back in the day, the holographic rare energy cards as well. And the last one that I wanted to show you guys was just a complete magic set. So yeah, this guy is pretty legit. You can see here a ton of this stuff is still going. This one's literally ticking down as I record this video with only 51 minutes left to go, which makes me wonder if, yeah, so Power Keepers is the same thing. And let me go looking for Pop Series real quick. And now magically I can't find Pop Series, but I'm sure I will. Yeah, but yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, right there. Pop Series, 50 minutes left. That's where we're at. It's likely that it's gonna finish pretty high up there. So, all things considered, friends, this is an interesting story because it goes to show you how it is possible to really kind of get some interesting stuff. I think some of the highlights that you can take away as a collector, you can see here that this person really focused a lot on some really interesting diversity. Some of these sets are very amazing because they are old, they are well kept, and they are fundamentally sought after, right? So that's one thing. He was just able to pick some stuff. He probably got lucky and just collected what he loved. But if you were looking to consciously invest, obviously one of the biggest things you could do is find sets that you think people are going to chase after in the future. Nowadays, people love Gold Stars. Nowadays, people love old school Magic. And something like, those black and white era boxes that are pictured right here may not necessarily go for as much, but that Southern Islands is one of the fan favorite sets of the WotC era. So it's, quite possible that law of averages dictates he's going to make a small fortune on this stuff, which is pretty cool. The other thing to note is that this guy was patient, right? This wasn't consciously an investment opportunity. And as a result, he was able to be very patient and wait for his collection to appreciate. When he originally bought the stuff, it was not worth that much money. Nor did he ever probably think it would be worth that much money, because there was nothing in the market that was at the time telling him or reaffirming him that this would be possible. He was collecting because he loved the stuff that he did, and that is an amazing part of this hobby that I strongly suggest everybody try to seek primarily. And then, happenstantially, it just so happens this stuff appreciated and he decided it was time to move on. He was able to cash in. If you were looking for investments, time is going to be a crucial factor. You cannot buy a Chilling Reign booster box today and expect to flip it tomorrow. There were some abnormalities with the way the Pokemon card hobby worked for a couple of years, but by and far, those days are kind of over. And so now we are moving back towards more of a traditional model where if you buy something, you almost have to throw it in a closet and forget it exists for a bunch of years until later on in life you're able to cash in on it. And so it's not something that the next 5 years is going to help shake loose. It's probably going to be something that the next 10, 15, 20 years is going to help slowly appreciate in value, and get you to a point where, yeah, your investment was worth the time and effort put into it. And yeah, that's about all for today. As I said, link will be down below. Thanks for checking out today's video, friends. If you liked today's video, definitely feel free to leave a like. And hey, if you're not already, consider subscribing in order to become part of the Gengar Gang. But other than that, thanks again for checking out. Make sure to go take a look at some of these auctions. They are really cool. And other than that, thanks again for watching, and we will talk soon. Peace.